Have you ever felt like something in your life was slipping out of your control? Perhaps a shadow of suspicion creeps into your mind, a doubt that grows day by day. Today, I want to tell you the story of Claudia, a woman like many others, with a seemingly perfect life, who one day discovers a truth that will change everything she thought she knew. But be careful, because what you will discover is not what you think, and it will leave you truly amazed. Before we begin, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any of our incredible stories. Stay with us until the end, because the final twist will make you reconsider every detail of this story. Claudia was a respected psychiatrist, a 54-year-old woman who had dedicated her life to helping others understand the mysteries of the human mind. Every day she faced enormous challenges, listening and treating her patients with infinite patience. Her life seemed perfect, a fulfilling job, a welcoming home, and above all, a husband, Paolo, who she believed was her ideal life partner. For some time now, however, Claudia had begun to notice small changes in Paolo. Things that previously would not have aroused suspicion now seemed to her to be worrying signs. Paolo, who usually came home on time, had started staying late for no apparent reason. Also, the floral perfume he sometimes smelled on his clothes was unlike anything he had ever worn. Every detail, every new behavior, contributed to the suspicion that something was wrong. That evening, after a long day of work, Claudia came home late, tired and nervous. As she entered her dark house, her heart stopped for a moment. A feminine laugh, sweet and light, came from the bedroom. Her breathing became rapid. Her heart accelerated. She approached the door and clearly recognized her husband's voice. Anger overwhelmed her. She threw open the door, ready to unmask Paolo. But what she found left her stunned. In the room, there was only Paolo, deeply asleep. Claudia remained frozen, confused. The voices she had heard, were they real? Or were they just a figment of her imagination? Paolo woke up with a start, asking her what had happened. Claudia didn't know what to answer. She tried to apologize and go back to normal, but something inside her had broken. In the days that followed, that laughter continued to haunt her. Every night as she returned home from work, she heard those same voices coming from the bedroom. Yet, every time she opened the door, there was no one there. Only Paolo, asleep or immersed in his reading. Even small details of Paul's behavior, such as the way he justified his tardiness, seemed to fuel her fears. Doubt was beginning to consume her. How could it be possible? Claudia, a rational woman, a psychiatrist with years of experience, was she really losing her mind? Or was there something more? She had reached the point where she could no longer stand it. She was sure that Paolo was hiding something from her, but she couldn't figure out what. Her mind, always logical and analytical, couldn't accept the idea of a supernatural explanation, but what could she do? One day, while returning home, Claudia smelled an intense perfume that was unfamiliar to her. It was a sweetish, almost nauseating aroma that seemed to come from Paolo's pillow. This detail, apparently insignificant, was the straw that broke the camel's back. She could no longer ignore the evidence. Something was wrong, and she had to find out. At this point, I want to ask you, have you ever felt something strange, something that defies your logic? How did you react? Leave a comment below and tell us about your experience. I'm curious to know what you think. Determined to find out the truth, Claudia took a drastic decision. One day, while Paolo was at work, she went to an electronics store and bought a hidden camera. She could no longer live in uncertainty. She needed proof, something tangible. When she returned home, she had the camera installed in her bedroom with the intention of recording what happened when she was not there. This, she thought, would be the definitive proof of the truth. That night, Claudia anxiously awaited the recordings. The next day, her heart in her throat, she ran home, turned on her computer, and began viewing the footage. Her hands shook as she pressed play. The images showed only the empty room. No laughter, no woman. Only Claudia, who every evening when she returned home, stopped at the threshold of the room, screamed and fidgeted as if she were talking to someone who didn't exist. Claudia couldn't believe her eyes. How was it possible? Where was Paolo? It was then that a dark truth began to emerge from the fog of her memories. Paolo was no longer there. He had died 10 years earlier in a tragic car accident. Claudia had completely repressed that memory, refusing to accept reality. Her mind, unable to bear the pain and guilt, had created an alternative world, a world in which Paolo was still alive. In her desperation, Claudia had created an illusion in which she could continue to live with her husband, an illusion so powerful that it completely obscured the truth. The camera, which was supposed to reveal the betrayal, instead revealed the depth of her suffering. Before continuing, if this story has touched you and you want to support the channel, leave a like, subscribe, and activate the bell so you don't miss the next videos. Every support is essential to continue sharing stories like this. Claudia realized that her own fears, her own suspicions, had led her to live in an endless nightmare. The truth had always been there, but she had chosen to ignore it, preferring to live in a lie rather than face reality. Claudia's story shows us how deceptive our minds can be, capable of constructing alternative realities to protect us from the deepest wounds. But it also reminds us that, in the end, we must face the truth, however painful it may be. Marta showed us that the truth, however painful, is always better than a lie that imprisons us. Ultimately, freedom lies in accepting reality, with all its imperfections and shadows. Thanks for following us to the end. See you in the next video.